So just to welcome everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you taking some time out of your afternoon, and hopefully we'll have some nice, interesting insights for you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about myself. So my name is Mary. I'm the Senior Marketing Executive here at number 25 Fitzwilliam Place. If you've interacted with us on any of our social media or on the website, you've probably been talking to me, but not known. So hi, it's nice to put my face out there. Today we're going to be talking to Ciara Crossan, who is the founder and CEO of WeddingDates.ie. I'm sure anyone who's tuned into this will know of WeddingDates.ie already. So we just thought it'd be a really nice chat to get to know Ciara a little bit better, because we've used her platform for a long time and it's fantastic. So we're going to let Ciara talk all about that. Joining us as well on the call is John, our general manager. So you might know him from his TV show, The Restaurant, but we know him as our general manager for number 25 on Suesey Street. So he's absolutely fantastic. He's got a wealth of experience in hospitality, and like Ciara, he's an expert in weddings. So we are thrilled to have you both here today, and we know that you're going to have some really interesting things to talk about with us. Anyone who doesn't know number 25, Fitzwilliam Place, we are a Georgian townhouse, beautifully restored. We've been here since 1843. We were a family home for over 100 years, and we've been doing weddings and corporate events here for quite a long time now. So we're experts in those too. If you would like to know any more about us, you can find out everything you need to know on 25 Fitzwilliam Place.ie, when we're always here for questions or queries or anything you'd like to know. But enough about us. Today we're here to talk about Ciara and wedding dates. So I'm going to hand you over to John, and I'll let him take over the reins.
Thanks, Mary, so much. It's great. And good afternoon, everybody. And all are very welcome on this bright, sunny day. Thank God we have a little bit of brightness in our lives at the moment. And the other bit of brightness I have today is Ciara. And you're very welcome, Ciara. Thank you.
So much,
Ciara,
John.
You have a platform. You're not an event planner per se, but you have a platform for event planning, for wedding planning in particular, called I've forgotten the name of it already, would you imagine? Wedding Dates. So do you want to go through a little bit and tell us about it?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me, and I'm delighted to be virtually in number 25, as you can see from my background, even though I'm not there physically. So yeah, my company is called Wedding Dates. I started it 13 years ago now, and my family background actually is hospitality. Both my parents grew up in hotels. My grandparents on both sides owned and ran hotels. So I feel like hospitality is really in my blood. And when I started the company 13 years ago, I was, in my mid-20s. I had a business information systems degree, and everything was kind of going online back then. And hotel rooms like booking.com and hotels.com, those sites were launching around that time. So I really just saw that there was a gap in the market for planning your wedding using an online tool, and Wedding Dates was born. And the really unique selling point about it is you can search by date, because that tends to be, couples get engaged, then they set a date, and then everything kind of flows from there. So you can go on to WeddingDates.ie, type in the date you want to get married and the location and a radius around which you're looking to get married. Hit search, and then you see all of the beautiful wedding venues that match your criteria, and filter on budget, on style of property, etc. And then we have thousands of wedding suppliers listed on the site as well.
Oh, fantastic. So then how much does that cost a bride or a potential bride and groom to do that?
It's completely free service for couples. So for us, our paying clients are venues and wedding suppliers around Ireland and the UK. But as I say, it's a completely free service for the couples. So we're really providing that resource for them in terms of searching and planning their wedding. There's also a planning tool that they can log into and do their budgets and a checklist of all the things they need to do. And then on our blog and our social media, we're really trying to give them ideas, give them inspiration, show them trends, what other people are doing, etc.
Fine. And there's actually videos on there as well. When you go on, it links straight to venue websites, and you can get videos of, so you don't have to travel around the country to, like in the old days, to see all the wedding venues that people used to do. I remember when I used to do weddings in the 80s, you'd have bookings coming in all day Friday and all day Saturday just to view a venue, because there was no online then. Well, believe it or not.
Exactly. And it's really interesting, both yourself and myself, John, we've been in this industry probably longer than we'd care to admit, but I'm sure we obviously we're in it because we love it, right? But the changes that we've seen over the last, certainly that I've seen in the last 13 years, and as you just said, gone are the days where couples will drive around the country viewing loads and loads of different venues. Now they're doing all their research online. So they're sitting at home with the laptop and a glass of wine at night doing their research. They're looking at the venue's social media, they're reading reviews, they're looking at blogs and stuff like that. And actually, it's really interesting from our recent survey that we did with over 1,000 Irish couples. We know that the majority of couples actually only visit 3 venues or less. And actually 30% of couples only view 1 venue and then book it. So they've really narrowed it down, and they're really only going into the venue to make sure that the place actually looks like the photos on Instagram.
Absolutely.
It's almost a tick box exercise, you know, when they're going in. And what's been really interesting over the last few months where hotels and venues have been closed is that, you know, I'm seeing a lot of event managers in venues doing a lot of these kind of Zoom meetings, virtual show rounds, and actually couples are booking their venue and they haven't even necessarily physically been in yet. So it's just a really interesting shift in how weddings are planned as a result of the dreaded C word, which we're trying not to mention today.
No, we won't. So I've got some figures here for you. So you're 12 years in business. You have 750 customers. You're based in 2 countries with 1,500 wedding suppliers. So do you vet all the suppliers, or do you have a look at them to make sure they're like, you know, good, or is it recommended by other venues, or what do you do?
That's exactly it. So our supplier database is they're recommended by venues that we work with. In terms of the venues, yes, it's one of the best parts of my job. I get to travel around and visit all these amazing properties. And I'm so lucky that I've been to some of the most gorgeous, stunning properties in Ireland and in the UK as well. So that definitely is a little perk of the job for sure. And then those venues recommend, you know, add their recommended suppliers. So that's how we kind of vet the suppliers. Obviously, some of those suppliers, they don't have physical places that we can go and tour, etc. So we rely on our venues to recommend the best of the best.
I love the way you do on the website, where you, depending on what taste you want or what style of wedding you want, whether you want a bohemian wedding, a hotel wedding, a country house wedding, or a marquee, that you cover almost everything there. So you do, which is fantastic because the variety is so much. You have 340,000 wedding inquiries delivered, with a revenue for weddings of 82 million. I mean, this in Ireland, the wedding business in Ireland is a 2 billion euro, I was going to say dollars, but it's 2 billion euro revenue per year. And it's amazing that there is no association per se attached to the industry to lobby it for government, because at the moment we're not getting the information we need about what's happening and when the restrictions are being released, and, you know, what's going on in the future. But anyway.
I think it's the pandemic has kind of really highlighted that, how important the wedding industry is, but also how it can kind of often get overlooked, particularly when it comes to government and decisions. And that isn't just an Irish problem. It's exactly the same over the water in the UK as well. They're having an issue with really, there's a hashtag going around on Twitter now at the moment, and it's hashtag what about weddings, because it's like, give us some information, like, because it is such a huge industry and it touches not just hotels and venues, but all those suppliers, the makeup artists, the hairdressers, the photographers. You know, there's so much that goes into a high-end event like a wedding, and all of those are businesses and they employ people. And then of course, you know, what a milestone a wedding is in somebody's life as well. It's such an important day. So you're so right, John. It's frustrating, I suppose, that there isn't that cohesion, but it's really, I suppose, again, another positive of the pandemic is that it's starting to come. So, you know, in the UK and in Ireland, some leaders in the industry are really coming together and starting to do that lobbying work on behalf of the industry, because we can sometimes get forgotten, and we definitely need to make our voices heard.
Absolutely. I know. I was actually in conversation with Tara Fay, and she's in the process of doing all that. I know she's been in touch with you as well. And we have to look forward to something more solid for weddings anyway, because it is an important business for us. And saying that, for businesses like, the trends in weddings has changed so much over the last 12 months. And I know I got married myself last November, and we had a wedding for 20 people, which was absolutely just terrific. The whole thing was an experience. Are you seeing more of that as well?
Definitely. I think, when COVID hit initially, a lot of people just postponed their weddings. And, thinking back to this time last year, how naive we all were. We thought, oh, this will last. Remember when they closed the schools for 2 weeks? I mean, it's laughable. Absolutely laughable. We didn't realize we'd still be here 12 months on. So, what we know happened is people postponed, and some people postponed once, twice, even 3 or 4 times. And it got to the stage last autumn where I think a lot of couples, and I know, John, you fall into that bracket as well. I think just got fed up of waiting and said, you know what, we're going to go ahead with our smaller numbers. So
there are lots of different reasons why you need to go ahead, whether your parents are elderly and you're not quite sure what's going to happen with them, or people are coming in from abroad, or whatever was going on. We decided that we needed to get it done. And originally I was going to have a big wedding with 60, 70 people, and my partner's parents live in Croatia, and they were going to come over, and we were going to have a weekend of it, and all that changed. We ended up doing a Zoom wedding for Croatia, and we had a small intimate gathering for ourselves, my family, and some of his friends and my friends, and it was a terrific evening. It really changed the whole atmosphere of the wedding to make it more intimate, because we were expecting this big sort of like celebration. And I've been to those celebrations before, and you lose the individuality of the couple, because you don't get to speak to them, because you don't get enough time with them, because everybody wants a piece of them, And I was at a couple of friends' weddings in a number of years previously, and you kind of go, oh, I didn't get to talk to you at your own wedding. It was so weird because there were so many people there and blah, blah, blah. This was really, really different. And, I know a lot of people are coming out on social media saying, oh my God, we had a small wedding and it was lovely and it was fantastic. I totally would, encourage people to look at that as well. It's not to be afraid of,
I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. Don't be afraid of it, because you don't have to think about it as, well, this is a second best option. It actually can be the best option. And you really, I think, to use the overused phrase, lean into it, really, if you are going to go that way, just really embrace it and kind of change the mindset to make it a really positive experience. Because, you're as you experienced, John, I'm sure you wouldn't change it for the world now, having gone ahead with 20. And that's what I'm hearing. I mean, on our Instagram DMs, I have couples all the time saying, we went ahead with 25, or we went ahead even with the 6 guests and the couple, so 8 people. And really was a day to remember, and very different, but certainly no less special. You still then can have the big hoolie next year, and I think there's going to be a lot of hoolies in 2022. I can't wait to go to a few of them myself. But I think there is trends that were starting before COVID, and COVID has just amplified them and accelerated them. And the intimate wedding trend is certainly one that I'm seeing. It had started before COVID, but certainly it's really picking up momentum now. And I do think it's a really viable option for Irish couples. In saying that, it's not going to be for everyone. And I don't think the big Irish wedding is going anywhere anytime soon.
It's also gotten a lot more expensive to have a wedding, price per head, because as a general manager, and we're pricing stuff on a weekly basis, you kind of go, I can't do it for less than that. All our expenses have got more expenses, have got more expensive. All of our overheads have got more expensive. So we need to charge a certain amount of money to make sure, and there's not a huge margin in food, as everybody knows, in the industry. So if you have a budget there that you can spend that budget, and you can have an intimate wedding with very high end. If you want to, you can have an intimate wedding that's not going to cost you, the hundreds of thousands that people spend on weddings. You can scale it down to make it more intimate, much more affordable, and much more elegant.
Exactly, and that's what we're hearing is in people's choice, particularly around food and drink. They're they're getting the fancy champagne instead of the prosecco. They're getting more luxurious meal options, and
an extra course. The extra course is going in.
Exactly, more courses. But and I'm hearing it from my clients, that the venues that I work with have put together. I really have to hand it. I mean, my heart is very much in the hospitality industry, and it has been a really, really challenging year for everybody that works in hospitality. But my God, talk about pivoting. The venues that I work with have, really, they haven't just taken their normal package and divided by 25. They've really put effort into thinking about, well, how can we do an intimate wedding really beautifully in our property and tailored it accordingly? And I know you've done that in number 25. I mean, you would have been known for intimate weddings anyway, but I think the beauty of a city center wedding, your location is so fabulous. Obviously the decor, you don't need to do anything to number 25. And it's just also stunning. And I think it's quite an exciting time for particularly city center properties that can really capitalize on that.
I also think a lot of people don't realize the amount of experience that we have in most venues are run by very experienced people. With like myself, I'm 30 years in the business. Stephen, who runs the operations on the day, is also sort of a lifetimer in the business and has been in it for a number of years. And then Mark, who's in the office, has also a number of years experience in handling this stuff. So any problems that have ever come up, we've handled them. And we've met most problems that arrive for brides and handle stuff and made it seamless, it's funny because I always say to people, just let us do it. We do it every day. Leave us alone. Let us do it. And trust the experts. Write the check. That's my famous line, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Just write the check. It'll be done,
Exactly. I think that's what people really need to buy into that, trust the venue that you're working with, trust the experts, in place, and not just the venue, but of course, indeed, your suppliers and that as well. And I think, the world we live in now, we've kind of all turned into little mini control freaks, and we need to just kind of step back a little bit and let go of the reins, because, I do hear from couples from time to time that have, and even now, thinking about, oh, well, with restrictions or whatever, we'll get married at home, or we'll do DIY weddings. And they have this idea that it's going to be much cheaper. People have this notion that, when you say the word wedding, they put 10% on the top of it. But actually, they have this notion that it's going to be a lot cheaper doing it DIY or maybe doing it at home. But oh my God, then think about the headache, like John, you could tell stories for days on that.
I'm actually just as you were saying that, just flooding into my brain. Oh God, I remember that time. And I remember doing a very high-end Shrewsbury Road in Dublin, multi-million euro house, walking out to the back garden, and there was this stunning marquee in this beautifully manicured garden. Like, it was picturesque, almost in the Hamptons kind of thing. And it was kind of like one of those fall autumn days, and the marquee was attached to the house with a suspended floor, with interior curtains. There was no chandeliers, and I walked in and all they had were candles on the tables, and I went, it's going to be dark in an hour. You've got absolutely no lighting in here at all, and no heating in here. That's grand. And I was like, they're going to freeze. They can't see where they're going. So I had to, within an hour, I had to organize a truss of lighting, a generator to run the lights separate to the house, because the lighting takes a three-phase power, some of them, and you need to make sure that the power is enough that you have enough power not from the house, but a separate generator. And then we had to go and get a heater and run that as well. But it was just one of those things I learned on the job, that just to double check that and make a mental note next time, make sure they have everything, because they got a marquee guy just to put up the marquee and no accessories. But the one thing they did remember, and he did remember very well, was he got an external bathroom. So one of those expensive portaloos, which are like a couple of grand to rent, but it's actually worth it. It saves people traipsing in and out of the house the whole time. And the object of having a wedding at home is not to have your house destroyed in the process, because that can happen very easily as well.
Exactly, especially a big Irish wedding where there's probably
Well, they tend to go on all night, and I know for another one I organized in the morning for one of these. It was like a burger van, but who was doing breakfast rolls to come roll in the morning and feed everybody at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning once all the dancing was finished. So people had something going home. It was just a bit of an extra with a younger wedding. So they all it was partied all night, and then we had breakfast rolls in the morning on the way home from a chip van, which was very, very cool.
John, I think you need to write a book.
Yeah, the weddings. Well, when I started the business, and I was in my early 20s and quite green and quite naive. But the challenge was, and I used to run I was a duty manager in the Royal Marine Hotel in Dunleary, which is a very famous wedding venue in Ireland. But on a Saturday, we would have 5 weddings. One in the main ballroom. We had 2 other suites, which used to hold about 200 in each, one sitting above the other. And then we had a couple of other private rooms in the hotel, and we could hold up, and which were smaller, like 50 or 60. But we used to do 5 weddings on a Saturday, and my whole focus was so that none of the brides saw each other. So you could see me tearing across the car park or running down to the garden with clipboards, sort of like trying to make sure that we had everything moving at the right time and coordinating everything. So you start at a very young age and you learn as you go on.
Talk about juggling plates, or spinning plates.
It was one of those things that I was kind of like, and when you're young like that, you can handle that kind of pressure and stuff. But I remember one particular night we had a 250 in the ballroom or whatever it was, and we couldn't find the bride and groom. And I had to run around the hotel, literally run around the hotel with the whole wedding venue seated and ready to go. And, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your bride and groom, Mr. and Mrs. whatever it is. And I couldn't find them. I was like, where? So I actually ran through the hotel, and there the pair of them were sitting up at the bar having pints with a fag. And I'm going, what is going on? Anyway, we could tell some stories. Yeah, and it was good. So let me ask you then, what do you think then, is the wedding industry, or what's the future going to look like? How are we going to look like next year and the year after? Do you think the current trends are going to continue, or will it change, or what do you feel? How do you feel about it?
I mean, I really feel that trends, weddings will always be evolving, and trends, they usually start in the US and then filter their way over to us, particularly trends around decor and style and themes and that kind of thing. However, I mean, fundamentally, the wedding day itself and the structure of the day hasn't really changed all that much in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right?
No, yeah.
The fundamentals are the same. And I think the big thing, it will be around the intimate weddings. Again, that was starting before COVID. I think it will, it has accelerated, where couples really want to bring their personality into the day, and that comes across from even before the wedding, from the invites to the theme and the decor, and all of that. It comes right through, definitely around that the personality. And I think it's because people are getting married a little bit older now, so they're paying for the weddings themselves, so they have more say on how the day goes. They don't necessarily need to take into account mommy and daddy's friends and distant relatives and things like that. So they find that
already at the moment. They're like, it's just the bride and groom and then their parents. None of the extended family, sort of like, or unless it's a favorite aunt or something like that, get invited, because I know a lot in the past it was tick the box. You had to invite everybody because they were your part of your family. You might never see them from one end of the year to the other, But COVID gave everybody a huge excuse to cut all that out, and then people realized what a real wedding actually really meant, how important it was, the day itself, the romance of it, the intimacy of it, and having people there. I mean, I had my own family there, but you don't have all your own family on your own, because it's like Christmas Day. I mean, nobody speaks to each other most of the time. But what I did was, we do love each other really. But you know what it's like when you're with your own family. Sometimes you all get on, and sometimes everybody has something to say to each other. But that's okay. I put 3 or 4 couples of my closest friends in the middle of the table who know my family already. So it made it into a kind of like a little bit more easier for people to get on with each other, or easier for people to mix. And there was a little bit of distraction from the family politics going on, you know, which was great. And that for me was a lifesaver, because it made it very light and no pressure on me. You know what I mean? As a groom, there was no pressure on me to everybody get on with themselves. They got on with each other, and we sailed through. Plus the fact I had to let go control, which was a big thing for me, because when I walked in and I was like, okay, is this done? Is that done? And Stephen, who is very good at what he does, and I went, Stephen, I'm sorry, you do it. I'm going over here to talk to the registrar and sort the verbiage out. And then once I let go, I was absolutely fine as well, you know.
Yeah,
so and I actually then really enjoyed it. And I always tell my brides, you know, I remember having this young lady, and she was such a control freak that it was freaking everybody out. And I went up to her and I whispered in her ear, I said, this is your day. You're the bride. You're in the dress. All eyes are on you. You are beautiful. You're sophisticated. Don't let yourself down. Let go. And as soon as she did that, she actually really had a fantastic day, because then she was able to sit back and enjoy it. Your work is done. Enjoy the day, kind of thing. You know, and I think that's a very important advice to give to bride and groom on the day, you know, even the morning of, and when they come in, you know by them. We know by them, whether they're up to 90 or not. And I was like, just hand it over to us. You know, we'll take care of it for you.
I think that's golden advice. And I've seen it myself in weddings that I've attended. The people that let go, as you say, they enjoy the day more, and everybody else enjoys the day more, because the couple themselves are relaxed and they're letting go and having fun. I think, you know, a wedding is no different to any event. It's all in the preparation. The more work that you do in the preparing, the expert, you know, venues and suppliers that you work with, you know, you're going to have a great day. And I think it's about trusting that, and you know, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that expertise and that trust. You're not just paying for the food that's on the plate. You know, you're really paying for all of that other stuff, and the steady hands, you know, that are taking care of you on the day. It's just absolutely key important.
Because what we do is like when the couple book their venue, and they come over, have a visit and have a look and make sure it's okay, and then they pay the deposit, and then that could be a year or two out. And then what we do is we bring them in maybe 2 or 3 months before the actual date, and we go through final details, where we go through the actual running order from the time they arrive, what time they do arrive, where they're going beforehand, who's going to be with them, what photographer, all the information that I need to know, and telephone numbers, because if anything goes wrong and the musicians don't arrive, I know who to ring. And we get all that information, have it on a sheet of paper, and that's delivered to all of the key people within the venue, so that everybody knows exactly what's supposed to happen, and what time it's supposed to happen, and when it's supposed to happen, and what's to be said, you know, with the microphone. Because normally best men are usually very shy, lovely guys, very shy, and not able to kind of control things. So, you know, I always take control of weddings in the sense of, okay, I'll MC the whole thing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sit down, stand up, move here, move there. You know, this is what's happening now. Tell the tables, I'm sorry, this is after your main course, after your desserts, coffees. We're going to be moving you to this area over here, because this is the dance floor. So when I give you the nod, grab all your stuff and go. You know, and they go, oh, okay, that's all right. Now at this stage, they've all had a couple of drinks on them, so sometimes that gets misheard. And it's funny the way things happen like that. But you know, it's important that people realize that we're there to make sure that the day is perfect, you know.
Absolutely. It can't be understated, I suppose, how key that is.
Yeah. So any other things then we want to share? You did a Hear From Her talk with Landor. And
John,
we've had any questions
come in that I think would be really interesting to get Ciara's perspective on, because I'm sure you've seen this from a lot of couples. So I'll just read it out to you. Would you have any tips or recommendations on communication to your guests if you've postponed more than twice? We are keeping our initial numbers, but hate messing our guests around with changes every 6 months. That's going to be a tricky one.
It is, but like, you know, it depends on how many you have, and it depends on what the whole thing is. I had a WhatsApp group where I explained what was happening, and people are actually very aware of what's happening with the restrictions at the moment, so they know that we don't know what's going on, you know. And it's important, I think, to save your date and save a second date. So what we've done is actually, if somebody wanted a wedding this May, or June, we actually booked a second date as a preparation, just in case it wasn't allowed in May. So you would tell your guests that we're going for this date. If this doesn't work or restrictions are not lifted, then you have to be open and honest with everybody. And everybody knows what's happening at the moment, and we're all in the same boat, and nobody can say this is actually definitely going to happen or not. So it's kind of have backup plans and backup plans on the backup plans kind of thing going on.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I think, and it's just about communication, really. You know, you really have to explain it to people, and you know what, people will understand. I think that's really,
totally,
you know, everybody knows what's been going on. It's just about explaining it. They're going to feel so sorry for you. They, you know, they will understand it, but just keep them informed. You know, keep the communication going.
I think we're about to go through that next month and the month after, and we don't know what's going to happen tonight with the restrictions being lifted or not. But we just have to play it by ear and do the best we possibly can for everybody, you know, in relation to rebooking or postponing or keeping deposits and letting it go to the next one, or refunding deposit, whatever needs to happen, just to make sure that everybody is aware. You know, we've done everything we possibly can in the weddings in the past year, whether they've rebooked it, postponed it to next year or the year after, or they actually said, you know what, we won't going to do it, refund the deposit, and we're going to do something else instead. So, you know, it depends on the couple, but to make sure that they, you know, that everybody feels like there's nobody's taking advantage of anybody here, and because we're all in the same boat.
Exactly.
That's perfect, guys. We've run a little bit over, so I'm just conscious of people's time. It's been so interesting to hear both of you talking, and I'm delighted that you're both able to join us today. It's been fabulous.
If you give me a Chardonnay, Mary, I'll be here all night, you know.
We could turn off the recording and just keep going. But just to thank everybody who's joined us today. I know some people had to pop off already, but that's absolutely fine. We'll have a recording of this up on our social media. We'll send it over to Ciara so she can share it around too if you want to. And we just are so appreciative of your time. Thank you both so much.
Lovely.
If anyone wants to know more about number 25, you can just hop onto the website, 25 Fitzwilliam Place.ie, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. We'll be updating you there on any future webinars. So once again, thank you very much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Happy Easter, everybody. Have a lovely weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.